The third day, the frost, as I continue in my marathon reading of John Marsden's Tomorrow series. So I'll add links to the two previous reviews below. This is the third book. This review will make no sense unless you've actually read the book or seen the two previous reviews, so I suggest you do that. Australia has been invaded. I think this one was written in 95 by an overseas Asian country who remains nameless and unstated. There's no hints to who it is, but anyone who knew the politics of Australia in the early 90s can make a guess. And I remember when the book and the movie first came out, there were a lot of guesses flying around. Anyway, at the end of book number 2, our intrepid, involuntary teenage guerrillas had done a major event in their hometown of Werribee. They'd blown up a significant number of buildings, which included a headquarters and the high-up quarters for some of the invading army. So at the beginning of this book, they're hiding out back in their camp in the bush in a gorge known locally as Hell. And they're doing okay there, but they're starting to get a little bit bored and twitchy, and they decide to go for a new target. Now, Werribee is a tiny rural town. It's got nothing much to it. The only reason it's been targeted is because it's an access point to Cobbler's Bay, which is one of the deepest, best natural harbours in the area. And that is the harbour in which the invading army is landing a lot of their military stuff, and also the settlers, because their idea is to settle Australia and steal the country. They come up with a plan to go down to Cobbler's Bay and see if they can do any damage. And on the way, they find that one of their buddies who'd been taken captive, Kevin, is on a work party at one of the farmhouses that's been colonised. They free him. And while he was captive, he learned a little bit about explosives, enough to use ammonia and petrol and a couple of other things that I won't mention because this is YouTube. In order to make an explosive. When they reach Cobbler's Bay, they find a way of getting all the ingredients into a container, getting the truck to break down on the way, and then the truck's towed down into the harbour and then onto a container ship. Ellie and Homer are chosen to go on board and light the explosive. They do that. It is a rush of a story. It's quite amazing how John Marsden has managed to use things that rural kids would know how to do and would be able to do and get them to do these amazing things and yet still make them be real people and vulnerable and mostly terrified because they're doing some terrifying things. So at that stage, Ellie and Homer jump off the ship after they've set their explosive charge, and their plan is to swim to a particular creek and meet up with their friends there. Things don't go as planned. I'm just amazed that they managed to jump off the side of a container ship and survive, because normally surviving that sort of fall from that height of ship would be dubious. But anyway, they do. In the water, they're chased by patrol ships that have seen them and a helicopter, and it's all extremely exciting. When the ship explodes, it grabs Ellie and throws her on the land. She's quite damaged. But she eventually makes her way to the meeting point in time to save her friends who had just been captured by 3 soldiers. They then go on another cross-country affair. They're escaping the soldiers. And spoiler, at the end they get captured. These books completely roller coaster you. There's so much happening and it's so excited, and there's one chapter where it starts it with that's why it was so shocking when we were captured, and I had to put it down, go, no, I don't want them to be captured. It's really good. So There is so much about this writing that I like. I could read lots of sections. I'm kind of tempted to. So here, when they've killed the soldier, his skin was purplish black, and his eyes, those eyes will follow me to my grave and beyond. They were the eyes of a staring devil, a man sent mad in the last minute of his life by the knowledge that he was dying and by the manner of the death. Every time I close my eyes, his open in my mind. It's pretty full on. For a young adult book too, it's exceptionally full on. It's if you think of the Hunger Games, which I adore, there's a lot of full on stuff in there that makes you wonder exactly what teenagers should and shouldn't be reading. But this takes it a level extra. It's a great book. In the end, they're rescued from prison just before Ellie and Homer are about to be executed, and they're taken to New Zealand. There's a lot of... By number 3, you can see a lot of repeating themes in these books. So you've got an event, a huge event, and then the end will always smack you over the face with something horrible and leave you reeling. And not able to wait to start the next one. I'm going straight into number 4. I can't stop. It's much like eating Pringles. Sometimes you don't even know if you can stop. But there's 7 of them, and I've got them all on the shelf, and I'm going straight on to the next one. I thoroughly recommend this series. I thoroughly do not recommend reading number 3 until you've read the 2 previous ones. The character development is totally based on the character development from previous novels. The characters by now are starting to become quite shell-shocked and quite PTSD, and more than a little bit crazy. And at times they realise that, but other times they don't. Plus, you need to have bonded with the characters to really feel what they feel in these things. Ellie being grabbed by a wave that's come from an exploding ship won't mean anything to you unless you've followed Ellie in the previous books as well. But yeah, this is a brilliant series, and I'm going on to the next one. I do thoroughly recommend. It's, like I've said before, it hasn't dated very badly at all. And yeah, brilliant number 3. Number 3 being The Third Day of the Frost.